Like a lot of us, October is one of my favourite months of the year. I'm not a massive horror fan, but I do love the paranormal and I love all those kind of horror adjacent spooky vibes. I love the ghosts and the ghoulies and the Frankensteins and the bats and the pumpkins, and I am completely here for it. This year in particular has been such a blessing for things like cozy fantasy. Horror, I feel, is having a bit of a resurgence, both in its far too scary for me form and in these kind of cozy horror lights that are coming out, which I'm really enjoying. For all my other new release videos, I've given you my most anticipated reads for 2 months at a time. But for October, that just wasn't viable. There are so many books out this month that I am really personally excited by. And that's not even counting the books that are coming out this month that just don't fit my personal reading tastes. So in this video, I'm going to have 11. I narrowed it down as much as I could. And these are the 11, absolutely, I have to get to them. I'll be waiting at the bookshop door. Funnily enough, a decent number of these books are all due out on the same date. There is going to be a big explosion of books on October 7th. The first one we're going to talk about is Crafting for Sinners by Jenny Keither. This is about a queer woman who is having to fight her way out of a big box craft store that just so happens to be run by a religious cult. So that premise sounds absolutely insane, but I'm really looking forward to it. I love anything set in craft shops and yarn shops, and that tends to be something I read a lot in cozy mysteries and don't see in any other genre, so I'm loving the idea that we're going to have a horror set in a craft store. Ruth is trapped. She's stuck in her small religious hometown of Kill Devil, Kentucky, stuck in the closet and stuck living paycheck to paycheck. After her manager finds out that she lives with her girlfriend, Ruth is fired from her job as a cashier at New Creations, a craft store owned by the church that dominates life in the town. In an act of revenge, Ruth attempts to shoplift some yarn, but is caught red-handed by a New Creations cashier. Instead of calling the police, the employees lock her in the store and attack her. When Ruth is forced to stab out one of their eyes with a knitting needle, she realizes she's facing far bigger trouble than a simple shoplifting charge. As Ruth fights for her life, she plunges deeper into the tangled web of the New Creationists, who are hiding a terrible secret that threatens not only her, but the entire town. This relentless horror novel will have you on the edge of your seat as it hurtles towards a breathtaking conclusion. Will Ruth escape, or will the shocking secrets at the heart of the cult die with her? Then we have All of Us Murderers by KJ Charles. This has been pitched as Crimson Peak meets Nights Out, and if there was ever a better spooky comp title for October, I don't know what it is. Who will survive Lackaday House? When Zeb Wickman is summoned to a wealthy relative's remote Gothic manor, he is horrified to find all the people he least wants to see in the world. His estranged brother, his sneering cousin, and his bitter ex-lover Gideon Grey. Things couldn't possibly be worse. Then the master of the house announces the true purpose of the gathering. He intends to leave the vast family fortune to whoever marries his young ward, setting off a violent scramble for her hand. Zeb wants no part of his greedy family, but when he tries to leave, the way is barred. The walls of Lackaday House are high and the gates firmly locked. As the Dartmoor mists roll in, there's no way out, and something unnatural may be watching them from the house's shadowy depths. Fear and paranoia ramping ever higher, Zeb has nowhere to turn but to the man who once held his heart. As the gaslight flickers and the terror takes hold, can two warring lovers reunite, uncover the murderous mysteries of Lackaday House, and live to tell the tale? I've really enjoyed KJ Charles' writing in the past. I love her historical romances. I think she manages to nail both character chemistry and historical setting really, really well. This one has a real locked room element feeling and lots of family dynamics, those gothic mansions and eclectic, deranged families. I think it's going to have a real Halloween vibe and I'm really looking forward to it. Then we have Colin Gets Promoted and Dooms the World by Mark Waddell. This is one I haven't seen a lot of people talking about, but I personally am really interested in. If you know me, you know that in my fantasy, I love a bit of political fantasy by way of what I would consider administrative fantasy. This is taking that administrative fantasy angle, the bureaucracy, the things going on behind the scenes, but pitching it into more of a comedy horror vibe. Colin is a low-level employee at Dark Enterprises, a hell-like multinational corporation solving the world's most difficult problems in deeply questionable ways. After years of toiling away in a cubicle, He's ready to climb the corporate ladder and claim the power he's never had. The only problem is he's pretty sure he's about to be terminated. Like, terminated. That's tough because his BFF has just set him up with a great guy. In fact, maybe he's a little too great and asks a lot of questions. When Colin meets a shadowy figure promising his heart's deepest desire, he can't resist the urge to fast track his goals. In return for a small, unspecified favour, he asks for the one thing that will improve his life: a promotion. But that small favour unleashes an ancient evil. People in New York are disappearing, the world might be ending, and management is starting to notice. Getting to the top is never easy, and now it's up to Colin to save the world. It's the ultimate power move, after all. Mirage by Lev A.C. Rosen is the fourth book in the Evander Mills historical mystery series. I have loved every book in the Evander Mills series so far. I love the topics we've touched on in this 1950s setting. It's a real chance to look at some of the ways that queer people were persecuted in the past, some of the ways that's relevant to us in the current day. We've looked at lavender marriages, we've looked at military service, we've looked at the police and corruption and queer spaces like nightclubs and community halls. We've also looked at book censorship, and I'm really excited to see what Rosen's going to bring to this particular instalment. Private investigator Evander Andy Mills. Nick's case takes him out of his comfort zone in San Francisco, and much to his dismay, back home to Los Angeles. After a secretive queer rights organisation called the Mattachine Society enlists Andy to find some missing members, he must dodge not only motorcycle gangs and mysterious forces, but his own mother too. Avoiding her proves to be a challenge when the case leads Andy to the psychological clinic she works at. Worlds collide, buried secrets are dug up, and Andy realises he's going to have to burn it all down this time if he wants to pull off a rescue. With secret societies, drugs, and doctors swirling around him, time is running out for Andy to locate the missing and get them to safety, and for him to make it back to San Francisco in one piece. The last book that's out on October 7th that I have for you is Freya Marsk's Cinder House. Freya Marsk has been a real favourite of mine. I love that Last Binding trilogy with all my heart. Sword Crossed wasn't as big a success for me. I felt like it just was a little lacking in stakes. So I'm really excited now to see that she is going to be doing a retelling of a fairy tale. This is a really interesting look at Cinderella that adds in some paranormal and ghostly elements and sounds really, really unique. Ella is a haunting. Murdered at 16, her ghost is furiously trapped in her father's house, invisible to everyone except her stepmother and stepsisters. Even when she discovers how to untether herself from her prison, there are limits. She cannot be seen or heard by the living people who surround her. Her family must never learn she is able to leave. And at the stroke of every midnight, she finds herself back on the staircase where she died, until she forges a wary friendship with a fairy charm seller and makes a bargain for 3 nights of almost living freedom. Freedom that means she can finally be seen, danced with, touched. You think you know Ella's the ball, the magical shoes, the handsome prince. You're halfway right and all the way wrong. Rediscover a classic fairy tale in this debut novella from the Queen of Romantic Fantasy. On October 9th, we have Savage Blooms by S.T. Gibson. I read S.T. Gibson's A Dowry of Blood, but I haven't kept up with her most recent releases. The fact that this one is set in Scotland obviously intrigues me. I think books that are set in your home country can be really hit and miss. It's always nice to see things you recognise, whether that's specific locations or just outlooks and ways of talking. But if the author doesn't know what they're doing, it can be really cringeworthy. It can be really difficult to read. So I'm really hoping that this is going to be one that hits that balance right. Adam has been in love with his best friend Nicola since college, but the closest he can come to admitting his feelings is inviting her to travel with him to Scotland in search of a legendary cave from his grandfather's bedtime stories. When a storm washes out the road, Adam and Nicola find themselves at the mercy of Eileen, an eccentric aristocrat, and Finlay, her brooding groundskeeper. The Americans quickly get more than they bargained for as they become entangled in Eileen and Finlay's world of mind games, kink, and ancient enchantment. On October 14th, we have Dead and Breakfast by Kat Ellis and Rosie Thor. So this is going back to, like I said, that kind of cozy horror paranormal angle that's coming in. I really like this. It seems like a mix between a cozy mystery and something with a little bit more bite to it. And I'm always a fan of vampires in the real world. I do love all my gothic overdramatic vamps, but there's also something really nice about seeing this kind of real world fitting in with daily life, humdrum reality. The new vampires in town are sinking their teeth into solving a murder. Married odd couple Arthur and Sal are totally normal. They wear sunscreen not because the sun can kill them, but because even the undead need a skincare regime. They eat garlic whenever they want, although it gives Sal indigestion. They can talk to creatures of the night, but only the raccoons that rifle through their garbage. Really, they don't bite, except into delicious baked goods. Ready to settle down and stay out of trouble, the two have opened a bed and breakfast in the idyllic, if not so paranormal friendly, town of Trident Falls, Oregon. But trouble finds them when the mayor is discovered dead in their begonias, with 2 puncture wounds in his neck. With the help of a werewolf barista, the elven town coroner, and a very human city manager, Arthur and Sal will need to prove they aren't literally out for blood by catching a killer. Thirsty by Lucy Lehane is out on the same day, and that is another book that deals with vampires and paranormal creatures in general in quite a realistic, slice of life, our world type of way. This is one that I actually read as an ARC, and you can find out my full thoughts about it in my Summerween video vlog that I will link below. My main issue with this one was that I thought the blurb, the summary, had been slightly misleading and probably set the book up for a little bit of failure. Although we talk about revenge and enemies to lovers, I would say that that bit of the plot is relevant to perhaps half a chapter. The book itself is far more a slow burn romance, which has the two characters embracing each other's differences, and really is about Charlie finding out more about this paranormal world. It's about the world building, the different communities, the way vampires and werewolves and sirens and trolls all have their own little cultures within the human world. And I just find it really, really interesting. Charlie needs to revamp his career. Writing advice columns was hard enough before the whole internet was dying to know how to date the undead. But Charlie's as human as they come, and he has no idea how to answer the messages flooding his inbox like, "My workplace Slack is haunted. Should I cross dimensions for a fling?" And "How exactly do you smash it?" When the chance nocturnal meeting at a local coffee shop sees him reuniting with Lorenzo, a vampire with an axe to grind, Charlie thinks he's found his ticket to immortal career success. But Lorenzo has plans to get revenge on Charlie for separating Lorenzo from the love of his life years ago. When Lorenzo draws Charlie into his world of monsters and mayhem, he finds new friends and old souls that span centuries of existence, yet are somehow just as lost as the two of them. But as Charlie and Lorenzo grow unexpectedly closer, the secrets they dwell under might just crush them. Can their love survive demons and drama? And which will prove deadlier, bloodlust or betrayal? Then on October 21st, we have The Devil She Knows by Alexandria Bellafleur. This one sounds like it is a queer, modern, up-to-date version of the Brendan Fraser and Liz Hurley movie Bedazzled, which was a big hit in the 90s. That was campy and cheesy and fun, and I think this one is going to go the same way. Samantha Cooper is having a day from hell. In less than 24 hours, her life is unraveled, leaving her single and with nowhere to live. Adding insult to injury, she's trapped in an elevator with a gorgeous woman claiming to be a demon. Daphne is not at all what Samantha expected from someone claiming to be an evil supernatural entity. She's pretty, witty, dressed in pink, and smells nice. And she's here to offer Samantha a deal she can't refuse. 6 wishes in exchange for one tiny trade: Samantha's soul. There's a glaring loophole in their contract, one Samantha fully intends to exploit so she doesn't fork over her soul. After all, she only needs one wish to win her ex back. Hell-bent to gather the last of the 1,000 souls she needs so that she can be free of her own devilish deal, Daphne grants each of Samantha's wishes. With a twist, so Samantha is forced to make another. As Samantha's wishes dwindle and Daphne offers her glimpses into the life she thought she wanted, the unlikely pair grow close. Perhaps the girl of Samantha's dreams is actually the stuff of nightmares, but Samantha and Daphne will have to outsmart the devil himself if they want a chance at a happily ever after. Again, on the 21st, we actually have the first book on this list that I would say isn't in some way horror, paranormal, or spooky adjacent. And quite frankly, it does still have a main character who's a witch, so it definitely still fits in that Halloween vibe. This is The Isle in the Silver Sea by Tasha Shuri. I'm really loving this return to kind of medieval knights in our fiction at the moment. Especially, there seems to be a lot of lady knights, and I'm really enjoying that. I think it's been a really nice little micro trend this year. In a Britain fueled by stories, the knight and the witch are fated to fall in love and doom each other over and over, the same tale retold over hundreds of lifetimes. Simran is a witch of the woods. Vina is a knight of the Queen's court. When the two women begin to fall for each other, how can they surrender to their desires, when to give in is to destroy each other? As they seek a way to break the cycle, a mysterious assassin begins targeting with tales like theirs. To survive, the two will need to write a story stronger than the one which fate has given them. But what tale is stronger than The Knight and the Witch? The last book on this list is coming in right under the wire on October 28th. This is Redneck Revenant by David R. Slayton. This is an interesting one. It is technically the fourth in the Adam Binder series, but the Adam Binder series was a trilogy and was completely wrapped up. So this is a new chapter or a new branch, a new installment, a new expansion of the world. I love the Adam Binder series. I gave, I think, every single book in that trilogy a 5. We start with White Trash Warlock, and it had a really nice kind of queer, paranormal, not detective, but that kind of urban fantasy feel. Adam Binder's life has never been better. Sure, he has no money, no car, no home to call his own, and he's worried about creating a future with his boyfriend Vic. But he's closer to his family than ever before. He's also page to the Elven Court of Swords, and that appointment is not without its perks, like the invisible sword strapped to his back. But on Halloween night, Adam's life takes a disturbing turn. Annie, his brother's long-lost wife, turns up on her husband's doorstep alive and well, with no memory of her death. But is it really Annie, or a Trojan horse from some new magical enemy? To uncover the truth, Adam will need help from those he loves most, as well as a couple of friends at Rogue Community College. As he navigates a perilous maze of magical politics and battles terrifying creatures from beyond the known realms, Adam will discover a secret darker and more unsettling than anything he could have imagined. So those are the 11 books that I am most excited to read in October. Let me know what you think of any of these. Let me know what your most anticipated book of October is. I would also love if you could like the video and subscribe to the channel. You know that really helps me out. And I will see you in the next video. Goodbye.